It's not what I want. But what I want doesn't matter. This is the only way I know how to survive. I'm coiled and ready to strike. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at Season 2 of Dexter. So in this season, the bodies of several of Dexter's victims from Season 1 have been discovered underwater by the Miami Metro Police. The police have come to the conclusion that this is all the work of a serial killer who they dub the Bay Harbor Butcher, not knowing that it is Dexter. So Dexter has to cover his tracks and prevent his secret from getting out. So this was yet another solid season for everybody's favorite serial killer, at least when it comes to television. Is it perfect? Well, depends on who you ask. So let's get into it. So this is a very interesting season to talk about because this is the season where they change up the formula completely. Instead of Dexter and the police pursuing a serial killer, in this season he is the serial killer and he is being pursued by the police. The tension keeps rising and rising with each and every episode, and it leads to some effective pacing throughout the season. I also enjoyed Dexter's arc this season. This is when the show began to humanize him a little bit more, which is what the rest of the show essentially does, even if it becomes a tad bit redundant later on. And he's also getting sloppy at his work and his extracurricular activities. He's not always succeeding at the killings, and even his blood work at his job is getting sloppy. I also liked what they did with some of the side characters, like Deborah's now working in the homicide department, and LaGuarta's a bit less career-centered, and they do try to flesh out more of her friendship with Dokes. Speaking of Dokes, Dokes was one of the highlights of the season. He becomes increasingly obsessed with Dexter's secrets, even though he doesn't actually know it, but he knows that Dexter's hiding something. And this only ratchets up the tension even more. Rita, Dexter's girlfriend, is now beginning to take their relationship a lot more seriously. For some people, this is where she became kind of annoying, somewhere along the lines of Skylar White from Breaking Bad. But, you know, in Rita's defense, this is her sort of maturing throughout the show as a character. Because in the first season, she was all sweet and innocent, and now that she knows that she can actually be with Dexter, I'm glad that she's taking the relationship more seriously. Especially when she believes he has an addiction, and he actually goes to a rehab for that. There's a couple of interesting new characters as well. For example, there's Lila, a woman who serves as Dexter's sponsor at the rehab, and they have a very unique dynamic. There's also Special Agent Frank Lundy, who's played by Keith Carradine. The Bay Harbor Butcher case is being led by him, and he's one of the more eccentric detectives you'd find on this show. You know, they actually managed to give him some actual characterization. And there's Gail, Rita's mother. Gail has extremely high standards, which makes her very judgmental towards Rita, Rita's children, and Dexter in particular. And this is largely because she was a public school teacher who was fired by the school board due to her philosophical disagreements. The season also delves a little bit deeper into Dexter's relationship with his father Harry through more flashbacks and also some investigations made by Dexter himself. The finale was fantastic, and in many ways it was actually better than the season 1 finale. In fact, if the show had even ended here, then I think it would have been just fine. Now, the one complaint I have with Season 2, and it's the same problem that everybody has with Season 2, is the fact that it is Season 2. I know that sounds strange at first, but just hear me out, especially if you haven't watched the show. The Bay Harbor Butcher storyline, which is the main focus of the season, wouldn't that have been great for Season 8? Wouldn't that have been a great way to wrap up the show? Just think about it. What if all the bodies of Dexter's victims throughout the entire show were discovered, and that's what ends up leading to the investigation into the Bay Harbor Butcher? And that's the final season. Just imagine that. It would have been a fantastic way to end the series. Because telling this story so early in the series kind of makes the later seasons feel somewhat repetitive. I guess this was done because the show does deviate from the books from this point onwards, from what I'm told at least. And I can understand wanting to change up the formula after season 1, but I think they went a bit too far with that, considering we're only 2 seasons into the show. And I think the Showtime network wasn't 100% sure as to how long they could keep the show going for. I mean, the ratings for the first season were nothing amazing, but they were decent. Season 2 did so well for the network that a 3rd season was inevitable. So overall, I just think that this particular aspect of season 2 would have been more impactful and more exciting if it had been saved for the final season, because what we ended up getting for the actual final season was pretty lackluster. So yeah, that was my review of season 2 of Dexter. It's still a fantastic season, and in many ways it's actually better than season 1, but the placement of the Bay Harbor Butcher storyline this early in the show was a mistake in my opinion, and I think that's the only thing that holds it back from perfection. So next time we're going to be looking at season 3. So thank you all for watching. Please be sure to like the video, share it and subscribe, hit the notification icon, be safe during this time, and I'll see you soon.